We cross over to the National Assembly, where we're given to understand that Minority Leader John Mbadi is now speaking on the matter surrounding the IEBC. Let us now listen in.
The minority, that much as I agree that that IEBC needs reforms, but I don't agree with this methodology. The methodology that we are supporting is that the reforms of IEBC, which one can call electoral reforms, must form part of the discussion that we are going to have as a country. And that reforms can only be done if the three remaining commissioners don't leave office at this point in time. As we proceed, even if there is no quorum, but with the three commissioners, there is still a commission. Because the Constitution is clear on, I think it is Article 248, if I'm not wrong. It's either 248 or 250. I think it's Article 250. Article 250 of the Constitution is clear that a commission can have from 3 to 9 commissioners. So with 3 commissioners, the commission is existing. But they cannot transact meaningful business. But before they leave the office, we must agree on restructuring the commission in total, holistically. We have to address all the issues that we have been complaining about the commission, starting from the organizational structure of that commission to even the way the separation of power is structured. I've heard many people say that there are 2 centers of power in the commission and therefore the commission cannot function. Far from it. All commissions that we created through the 2010 Constitution have 2 centers of power, by the way. The powers of the CEO and the Secretariat and the powers of the commission is usually distinct and separated in the same way that the powers are separated at the IEBC. Issues of procurement and the issue of budgeting. In fact, one of the problems, the reasons why there are problems at the IEBC is the issue of the budget that we have for IEBC. Having electoral body to run election, spending 49 billion shillings to run an election is not justifiable in any jurisdiction. And I will tell you, as ODM party, we have conducted primaries. I know people will talk about the primaries was not properly organized, they were not conducted in a good way, but I will tell you, all the same, we conducted the nomination for all the way from gubernatorial to MCA level. The only nomination that we didn't conduct was presidential, and we hardly spent 500 million shillings. Even if you now factor efficiency that you expect from IEBC, it cannot go beyond 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 billion shillings. And then you conduct another repeat sham presidential election and spend another 12 or so billion shillings. So there are fundamental issues that need to be discussed, but we have to agree on the methodology, the procedure that has to be followed. That is the position that we are taking. But finally, when I listened and watched the 3 commissioners as they were resigning, I am sure that many Kenyans got so disappointed. And looking at them, even the way they were communicating through the media and communicating to the whole world, and you ask yourself that these are the people we entrusted with such a serious responsibility of running an election that will produce the president of a country, the CEO of a country. Then now you understand why Kenya has problems. The truth is that looking at those commissioners, you realize that we have very incompetent people running our electoral process. But again, you need to ask yourself why these 3 commissioners resigned when they resigned. Last year, Kenyans called upon these commissioners to resign, paved way for some kind of restructuring before we went for the repeat election. They refused and they stood their ground. Now, because of selfish interest, they can quickly and easily resign. People who cannot give priority to public interest, but gives priority to their selfish personal interest is a very dangerous lot to run an election. What we have in IEBC is a group and a bunch of criminals, 6 of them, 3 now have decided to resign. There are 3 criminals remaining. But what we are saying, that before we get rid of all the criminals, a method must be agreed on how to get rid of all the criminals who have been masquerading as managers of our electoral process. Yes,
we know that the remaining enjoy security of tenure, and they have those. Some of your colleagues have been saying, if at all they will not be leaving, then they should form a tribunal. Or what will be your proposal? Will they also go like the Isaac Hassan, that there was some negotiated exit?
That is exactly what I said, that if you have to have a new commission, and we want a new commission, the new commission that we must have in place must be a properly discussed, negotiated, and agreed upon commission. We must not only look at the commission in terms of commissioners, but this time round, we have to look and address the issues of the Secretariat into details. There is a lot of progress that we made before the August 8th election, including what was affirmed by the Maina Kiai case, that where should really the election of president be determined. These things needed to have been built on if we had serious managers at IEBC. But because we had people who were thinking, who had their own interests and who were serving interests of other masters, we have not been able to achieve this goal. Now, as a country, this is a perfect opportunity for us. When it has come out very clearly that we were actually vindicated, when we said we don't have competent managers managing the electoral process, now is the time for both sides of the political divide, and not just both sides of the political divide, not just Jubilee and NASA. The whole country must now engage and discuss the best way to first form the commission, two, how then we are going to have a secretariat that can run an electoral process that people can have confidence in. Otherwise, the way we have, even if we have other new commissioners coming in, without looking at the secretariat and looking at the total arrangement and organization of IEBC, we will still get it wrong.
Question. Last year, there was a similar process of argument between the two political divides, and you ended up with the commissioners that you're now calling peers. How certain are you that if you go through a similar route, you come up with different results? And then number two, what is the value of the three commissioners remaining in office? What can they really prosecute? Would you be of consideration that you appoint some 4 commissioners to make it a full commission?
First of all, to answer your first question, I know and I'm aware that in 2016, I think, that we formed the Kiraitu Orengo committee, which took quite a number of days at Windsor to come up with the commission that we have today, or the commission that has been in place. And I want to just say 2 things about it. Number one is that the way the commission was constituted is not the way as it